Good morning. We are live. Thank you very much for joining us again, the Israel Trade Office in South Africa, for another live intro. I'm joined in a very cold South Africa with a very warm Israel, well, a very scorching hot Israel with Kfir. Good morning, Kfir Kimhi.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for thank you for having me. And it did very hot Israel, 46 degrees.
46 for the scorcher. In South Africa, we've been saying that we'd give up anything for a bit of warmth now that it's bitey cold at night, but I thought 46 is pushing it.
I'm giving you 25, 26 degrees just for you.
We'll take it. So, to those of us joining, we have Kfir is joining us from ITsMine, his cybersecurity company in Israel. And I just want to give a bit of context as to why we have so much cybersecurity going on in our Israel trade office. For those of you who work in cybersecurity, you no doubt know that Israel is the leader in cybersecurity. And that's because since its founding, Israel has been dealing with multitudes of daily cyber attacks on the national infrastructure, government databases, and in pretty much every way since we connected our first phones to the systems. And as a result of this, as a matter of existential priority, Israel has had to develop expertise in cybersecurity, which is driven very much from the public sector and shows very much in the private sector with the number of cybersecurity companies we are very proud of. In fact, from the different business nicknames Israel has, the Cyber Nation is one of them. We have over 570 dedicated cybersecurity companies that have been monetizing for at least a certain amount of time. And that's down to many different public and private initiatives that drive expertise and cross-industry and cross-business collaboration between different experts. And we have a few market leaders across all different categories of cybersecurity. Kfir, who's joining us today to tell us about his company, ITsMine, comes from one of them. I think actually, having spent quite a long time at Checkpoint, I think, Kfir, you can confirm with us if Checkpoint is probably Israel's biggest technology company altogether, perhaps.
So the biggest cybersecurity technology company in Israel, I believe that, for example, Amdocs is it's a bit bigger, but in a different industry.
Of course. So we have, so that's where Kfir is from. Now, Kfir is representing ITsMine, a data loss prevention company. And we invited Kfir today to engage with us here in Southern Africa. Kfir, can you please tell us, who are you? What is ITsMine? What does it do? Tell us.
Great. Okay. So first of all, thank you again for having me. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of ITsMine. It's a company that I built for the last 3.5 years. Before ITsMine, I used to work at Checkpoint, the one of the largest cybersecurity companies globally. I used to be a security architect for almost 11 years. And 3.5 years ago, I decided to start ITsMine, to create the Beyond DLP that I'm going to show you, and basically to disrupt the market of DLP, of data loss prevention, with our new approach to do a DLP. So let's talk about what we are doing and why we are doing it, and why it is interesting, and why do we think that it's important to collaborate, what we are looking for, in South Africa, mainly how we position ourselves and how do we want to extend our business to South Africa. So basically what we are doing with ITsMine is we are protecting against threats that coming from the inside. So why now? Why it is important? We are in a different area now, and today people are working from home. Okay, we've seen in the last 3 months that major changes. Companies now 80%, 90% of their resources working from home, accessing via routers that they never change the password to, working with Zoom and application, and the children's need to connect to the school and to do homeschooling from the same computers that they're using with the company's precious data. And that's created different policies, different approach from the company that we couldn't do, couple of years ago. More than this, some of the industries like healthcare needed to change and to accelerate the movement to solutions like cloud solutions, because they needed people to work from home. So we had uh, an enormous acceleration in movement to the cloud, and to allow people to better access the company data and applications in order to continuously to run the business. So when we have an external attackers that now trying to take companies' data, take companies' computer under, to harm the company data, to steal it, to delete it, to encrypt it with ransomware attacks that we hear all the time happening, or even to try to steal the company data, it's now another vectors are open for them. Employees router, the employee's computer. The policy is different, and therefore we are more exposed. Now, what we need to do with external attacker, we need to block them as soon as possible. We are not replacing the firewall, the antivirus, the sandbox solution. We are there as a last line of defense. So if the attacker is already inside, he took advantage of the computers of the employee because he did a mistake and he opens the door to that attacker. Or if we are talking about a router or an IoT device that is now trying to harm the company data and we couldn't install any security product on that device, we want to block that device when it's trying to harm the company data or steal it. The problem is that they look like internal employees. Now, on our employees, we have to trust. We must trust. But we need to verify. Because employees, when they leave the company, they take sensitive data with them. Today, many companies are going to, will need to lay off a large amount of their employees. Some of them, they will exchange them and will replace the people in 6 months from now. Some of them is going to do it immediately. We just saw, that Airbnb decided to lay off 1,900 people. They did it in a very, very nice and you can see the CEO struggling in releasing those people and try to help them as much as they can. But we have to understand that this is extremely risky for the organization. The users do not know if they will come back to work at home, to the company in the same role. So they might take many data from the company, and once they taking this data from the company is exposed both to regulatory requirement and that they might miss, and also branding issues, etc. So for employees, we need to make sure that they do not even take data from the company, and more than that, we need to check that if they do, we need to have hard evidence against them, without invading the privacy of the entire employees all the time. The last part is the most common way to lose company data, to get a data leakage, and that's unintentional data breach. People that just do mistakes with the company important data, the most important files, the most important application, sending the data to the wrong party, putting the data in the wrong place. So we need to assist them to work in the right way. So that's why we built Beyond DLP. Now, the product that we are replacing is a DLP, the data loss prevention, a big market of $1.4 billion, but it's actually a very small market comparing to what is the potential is. So today, companies with 500 to 5,000 employees cannot implement traditional DLP because of the complexity, because of the total cost of ownership of traditional DLP. And I will talk about that in a second. Those organizations that now need to meet with regulatory requirement, now wants to protect the data because most of the people working from home and people are going to leave the company and take sensitive data with them. They now need an easy way to do that. Most of the partners, most of the distributors do not sell proactively traditional DLP solutions because it's so hard, because you need to create manual policy and manage it. You need an endpoint agent installed on all the endpoint all the time and upgrade and update it on a regular basis. So None of the partners wants to do it. This is exactly why we built Beyond DLP, to protect company data within the company network and beyond. The difference between our solution and beyond and traditional DLP is, first of all, the integration time. We are making it in 2 hours. We are capable to implement the DLP. An implementation of our DLP does not require a manual policy, because we took a completely different approach to meet with the same vectors of attack and basically to find those vectors of attack and react automatically according to the vector of attack without the involvement of human being. We don't need to know or to investigate what is the sensitive data and what users allowed and not allowed to do with the data. That's why we don't have the integration time between 9 months and a year and a half that you need for a traditional DLP. We don't have amount of false positive like traditional DLP, because you will see in a second that we are using part of the DLP with its deception techniques. I will show you in a second that we create virtual minefield inside of the organization, creating sensors that will help you to know about a potential data breach, and we make the files live so they could call home and explain us when they have a potential data breach. So because we are using deception techniques, our false alarms and our mechanism of creating the cases for the company create very few cases per week, and those cases are real. Any false positives that we will create, you will see in a second, we use it to educate the people. So by doing the mechanism that we create, the false alarms are extremely low. So the operational cost of having a significant SOC team to be able to investigate each and every case of a DLP that no one can, it's just not available there. More than that, we don't require an endpoint agent installed on all the endpoint all the time, which gives us high visibility on employees that becoming wrong, and also doesn't require from us a long upgrade and update implementation time. The last part is, of course, the cost. Because we don't need professional services that are taking huge amount of effort from the organization, we can implement our solution in basically 2 hours. So the total cost of ownership is less than a third from traditional DLP. So the way that we do it is that we protect company with 3 different steps. I would definitely in the next session with the partners, with the distributors, we will get into the technology and exactly how do we do each part, but in a high level. What is it for the partner? We created 3 steps to protect the company data. We start with data breach detection. In the data breach detection, we collect all the accesses to all the file storages that the company have, on-prem and in the cloud. Companies that move to Microsoft 365. With less than 1 hour, we can connect to the Microsoft 365 API and have a full map of what's going on in the company's OneDrive, what people are doing with Teams, what people are doing with SharePoint Online. We collect this information to our system, and we start to create virtual minefield. First of all, we create heat map to find the most interesting places in the file storages. We will separate according to the accesses of the users, the areas in the file storages to red, yellow, and green, and then we create a virtual minefield. Thousands of software mines are planted inside the organization. Software mine is artificial company data, looks like company data that no one should access. It's a well-defined data. Although we plant this file in the real company's finance department folder, the software mines belong to the security team. We don't expect anyone to download this file. We definitely don't expect anyone outside the organization to open these files. And those files contain capabilities. It's a live file. The file acts like a sensor. One of the capabilities of that sensor is when these files are used outside the organization, the file will call home. And when the file call home, we know exactly what happened in this potential data breach. We will know where the data was taken from, by whom, when, what other files were taken from with the same resource, even beyond the company's boundaries. So if a user left the company 4 months ago, and now he uses a file that belongs to the company, we will be able to know that the user took this data, used this data today in this location, and more than that, we will know that he took with him another 100 files. We will be able to even deactivate the critical files that he took with him with just one click, with collaborations that we have, for example, with Azure Information Protection or with our capabilities of calling home. And with those 2 clicks, we will be able to make those files unavailable to that user, even beyond the company's boundaries. This will make you, the partner, the MSSP, a trusted advisor for this company. It's not that we are talking here about potential threat to the company, or they didn't upgrade to the latest version of the PDF reader. We are going to show a potential data breach, a real data breach, a real file that the user, a real event that the user that left the company took data with him, and he's using it now outside. That will help the customer, the security team of the customer, to increase the security layers in the places that they really need to. We can create additional projects, additional areas how we want to protect the company data, and of course to increase the security level by moving to automatic protection. In ITsMine automatic protection, after we made sure that we monitor all the central file storages of the companies on-prem and in the cloud, and we know about potential data breach even beyond the company's boundaries, we want to protect the company data from the threats that are coming from the inside. In the automatic protection, we will protect against 3 different vectors of attack. When some device, whether it's managed or unmanaged system, employee's router, that he haven't changed the password, and that device is infected with a malware that's trying to encrypt, change, or delete our data in our file storages, once it will try to encrypt those soft-mined, we immediately block that resource. When we see a managed system, an employee's computer that is downloading a soft-mine or downloading a folder containing soft-mine, that another sensor that lives in the file, we will be able to zoom in and to implement a disposable agent on that computers of the employee. This disposable agent is looking at what the user is trying to do with the data. First of all, we are verifying that there is a human being behind that computer. If we don't see a human being behind that computer, we block. So this is a malware that's running and trying to steal our company data. If we see that this user haven't done anything bad with the data and didn't try to bypass our solution, we will educate the user like we do with phishing attack. We will let the users know that, hey, there are here thousands of sensors in the OneDrive that no one should access and no one should download them. You want to be very careful when you leave the company not to take data from the OneDrive. Using this virtual minefield concept, the users will know that the OneDrive is not a place that you want to take data from. And the last part is rogue employees. When employees will try to take information from the OneDrive, will take data from the central file storages, the disposable agent is going to understand what the user is really doing and whether he's trying to act like a rogue employee, whether they're trying to bypass the solution, whether they're trying to take the data in a different and unique ways. Once we will see that.
Can I ask, Kfir?
Yes.
Just, as we're talking, as this is, as you mentioned, quite a timely thing with us being under lockdown, is any one of these methods of attack, specifically higher at the moment, happening more often during, since the COVID lockdowns have started?
Definitely. The part of rogue employees, people that are taking massive amount of data without any limitation, without double thinking about what they're doing, is happening a lot. Okay, companies that open up to OneDrive, to Microsoft 365, see a massive amount of data that is leaving the company. Most of the times, they do not have the capability to track it, and that's what we give them. But when we have such a user, such a rogue employee, once they becoming rogue, our solution detect that, change the case risk level to higher rank, and present high visibility on that endpoint. Because we keep the privacy of the entire organization on the time, all the time, and we have this disposable agent and 4 different methodology to protect the privacy of the user, we are capable to have hard evidence against that user. We will see exactly what the user is doing, and we will have kind of a security camera to show us everything that the user have done on his computer. So we will know that the user is next to the computer and exactly what he did. The last part of the solution is a virtual security assistant. When employees is working with the most critical data or critical application, databases, we will help the users to work in a more secured way using, again, a different disposable agent that we call it virtual security assistant. We will give tips to the users how to protect the company data in a better way, and we will centralize the files, the unstructured data that he might create from using this application, and we centralize this file back into the file storages, mark those files with the file GPS, and make those places that we place those files a red areas that we will plant more software mines next to them. So by doing this, we will be able to protect structure and unstructured data at rest, in motion, and in use. All the 3 stages of digital data, meeting with regulatory requirement like traditional DLP and beyond, but without the hassle. Less than 2 hours to implement. No endpoint agent that is installed on all the endpoint all the time. Not network changes that you need to do in order to support this solution, but we are capable to block and not just to detect. And all done in automatically. So the difference, and we made it available for MSSPs and to VARs to work with this solution without the need of huge time of professional services, and make their customers trusted advisors and happy.
So, Kfir, first of all, that's fantastically educating explanation of not only what ITsMine does, but also DLP. Can you just clarify who exactly you're looking to meet in South Africa from our many different contacts, our networks here are gonna be watching with me?
So we are looking for distributors and partners and MSSPs that would like to help their customers to protect their data in 2020. So we want to allow them to have a solution that they could, in 1 hour, 2 hours, have their customers protect their data, mainly when they're moving to the cloud, and to show them that they do not live, they keep in control and keep their data safe with minimum effort.
Well, okay. Well, first of all, to our viewers watching, if this therefore attains to you in that respect, then we, as the Trade Office, we encourage you to get in touch with us, to get in touch with Kfir, CEO of ITsMine, so that you can explore and discuss more of the ITsMine capabilities and the different offerings this fantastic solution has. And I think also all of our viewers would like to thank you very much, Kfir. That was certainly a very, very interesting explanation. Usually I'd try to cut this sort of explanation, this sort of live intro short, but that was very educating, very interesting. And it's also putting into context many of the warnings and worries that many of us business managers are experiencing under COVID lockdown restrictions, as you said, with all of our remote working. So thank you very much for that very clear explanation.
Thank you very much for having me again, and I'm looking forward, to see you and to see, to work with companies in South Africa, and maybe soon, in a couple of months, we finally can fly again and meet each other.
Indeed, certainly we hope to see you very busy here in South Africa. We got fantastic businesses and markets who are excelling, need to be excelling even more, and certainly we want the most cyber secure networks and companies anywhere. And us at the Israel Trade Office are doing our very best to expose these markets to ITsMine and other cybersecurity innovations for this purpose. So with that, Kfir, I want to thank you very, very much. And to everyone watching, thank you very much for your time as well. And we look forward to continuing this discussion off of the video. Thank you very much, Kfir.
Thank you very much.